Hello, listeners. Today is January 22nd, and this is a Garden a Day with Maidenbrock Gardens. Today, we are visiting another UNESCO World Heritage Site. Considered one of the 7 most magnificent botanical gardens in the world, today's garden was established in 1913 and spans over 1,300 acres. So where are we? We are at the foot of Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa, at Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden. From its very beginning, Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden has focused its energies on preserving native flora of South Africa. In fact, it was the very first botanical garden in the world with this as its mission focus. This was decades before the problem of invasive species and the importance of indigenous flora became the hot topic that it is today. Today, more than 7,000 species of native South African flora are grown in the garden, including many that are endangered or rare. Protea, or sugarbush, South Africa's national flower, can be admired in the Protea Garden. A visit between February and April provides the best opportunity to see them looking their best. A useful plants garden showcases medicinal plants. An elevated fragrance garden makes stopping and smelling the flowers so much easier. The Botanical Society Conservatory houses plants from the country's more arid regions. And for active visitors, there are hiking trails to Table Mountain and the Tree Canopy Walkway. The Tree Canopy Walkway is an elevated bridge, added in 2013 for the centenary. Constructed of wood and steel, the walkway takes visitors through the treetops in the Arboretum, allowing for stunning views of the gardens below. The Arboretum is a Level 4 accredited arboreta by ArbNet Arboretum Accreditation Program. There are 4 trails named after important trees in South Africa. The Silver Tree Trail crosses the entire length of Kirstenbosch. At one time, the forests were filled with shining silver trees, a species found only in the Cape region. Timber demands greatly impacted the silver tree, and the tree is now rare and threatened. Kirstenbosch is actively working to protect the silver tree. The Yellowwood Trail highlights the national tree of South Africa. Conservation of the Yellowwood tree began way back in 1658, when Jan van Riebeck, commander of the Dutch settlement, declared the tree not to be cut down under any pretext. The Stinkwood Trail traverses the oldest part of the forest. Also known as Cape Laurel and Cape Wood, the tree is a protected species and gets its colorful name from the smell it emits when it is cut. The Bokenhout Trail is a short but steep trail that highlights the Cape Beech tree, or Bokenhout. There are also old stone pine trees on this trail that predate the botanical garden. Another trail of note is the Braille Trail, a short 450-meter-long trail designed to give visitors with visual impairment the opportunity to walk through the woods without assistance. Signs in Braille guide visitors along the trail. Super ambitious hikers can venture into Skeleton Gorge and Nursery Ravine. The Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden has been named one of the best places for bird watching in Cape Town, so keep your eyes open to see how many different birds you can spot. Very little is known of the history of the area that is Kirstenbosch prior to European settlement. The Dutch established the first settlement in 1652. Their commander, Jan van Riebeck, was in charge of building a fort, planting fruits and vegetables, obtaining livestock, and improving anchorage at Table Bay. He set about introducing many plants to the settlement, including potatoes, cereal grains, grapes, apples, and citrus fruits. By 1660, he planted a hedge of wild almond trees and brambles to form the boundary of his Dutch outpost. Parts of this hedge still remain at Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden today. The name Kirstenbosch came later. Kirsten was a surname of several families in the area. Bosch means bush or wood. There are no records to indicate that anyone by the name of Kirsten owned the land, but it somehow became known as Kirstenbosch, or Kirsten's Forest. The name first appeared on land inventory provided to the British in 1795. In 1811, part of Kirstenbosch was sold to Colonel Christopher Bird, who installed a small pool, originally used to collect spring water. Called Colonel Bird's Bath, the pool remains to this day. The water in the bath is clean enough to drink, so they say, and the bath is a popular attraction in the garden. The Botanical Garden has its origins much later. Cecil Rhodes bought Kirstenbosch in 1895. He planted a row of camphor trees along the old wagon road. The trees are still there today. The rest of the land fell into ruin, and Rhodes passed away in 1902 and bequeathed the land to the government. The very next year, 1903, Harold Pearson arrived in South Africa as the chair of botany at South African College. He decided early on that South Africa needed its own botanical garden, but it wasn't until 1911 that a plan was set in place. Neville Pillins, a young botany student, was familiar with Kirstenbosch and took Pearson to see it. Pearson immediately took to the idea, and the rest, as they say, is garden history. A more detailed history is included on the South African National Biodiversity Institute website. There is so much to see, and so much to do, and so much to learn in this garden. I have not been able to include everything, so I've included links in the notes. I do hope you read up on the garden, and let me know if you stop by for a visit. Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden has been described as an outdoor classroom of particular splendor. For the prettiest blooms, plan to visit from August to November. A permanent Zimbabwean stone sculpture exhibit is located in the garden, and there is much to see and do year-round. The garden offers a summer concert series between December and March, and open-air Galileo Cinema on Wednesdays. Enjoy a picnic on the grounds or stop by Moyo, an African-themed restaurant, or Kirstenbosch Tea Room for scones, cake, and finger sandwiches. The garden is managed by the South African National Biodiversity Institute and hosts craft markets, food fairs, and holiday markets throughout the year. Well, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Join me tomorrow to see where we're going next. If you like A Garden a Day, please consider liking, following, or subscribing to the podcast. It lets you know when a new episode is available, and it lets me know you like the show. Also, if you're able, please consider giving the show a 5-star review. Thank you very much. If all goes well, I'll be right back here tomorrow. See you then.